So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Good afternoon, everyone. And this is a kind of impromptu chat about the season ending, and in response to all the messages I've been getting all week saying they can't finish the season without hearing what Paddy has to say about what happened last weekend. I was going to do this on my own. As you could see, Neil had set up a video. It's only when we were going live I realised there was a video there with my picture on it. But Spud, how are you? It's good to have you on again. How are things?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
I'm well. And since we last spoke, you've been to Villa Park, haven't you? You've done that long journey. How did that go for you?
I have. I've covered quite a few kilometres right since we last spoke, Paddy. It went very well, yeah. I'm well practiced in it this time. Like last year, I kind of came back and it took me about 10 days to recover with the jet lag. But I think with the short trips I learned from last year, when to sleep on the planes, when not. So yeah, even I got back this time. Even when I got back this time, the missus was like, "You're not like a lad who's been away for a long haul flight for 4 nights at all." I was like, I says, I learned when to sleep, and I think going back, I arrived back at 10 p.m. on the Tuesday night. And I got off the 24-hour flight, and I looked at my emails, and I was like, my work had booked me. I was saying to you, my work had booked me in for a classroom course on the Tuesday. I was like, on the Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., and I was like, this is the worst thing they could have done. Like, at least if I went to site, I would have been fine with that. No, it all worked out well. Thankfully, worked out well, and I passed the course as well, which was good. But it was actually a pretty serious course. So I was pretty worried, like, that I'd start falling asleep in the course, on the Wednesday morning. But it didn't come to that anyway, thankfully.
Well, at least you passed it. That's the main thing. But the stars didn't align, unfortunately. If the match had been on the Sunday, I would have been able to join you in Villa Park. But thankfully for Spurs, they got their way and moved their fixture, and they beat Manchester United and they got their Champions League. Unfortunately, we were playing Man United the following week and not Spurs. The other way around, I think it might have been completely different. But what can you do? It's a bitter pill to swallow. But how was that trip? Because you managed to get in the under-18 game on the Saturday as well, which worked out pretty well for you.
Oh, it was brilliant, yeah, because just before obviously they moved again to the Friday, and as you know, like I had a lot of accommodation changes and fixture changes, and and it was pretty stressful in the build-up, to be honest with you, because we didn't know. So I've been in touch with you, and I was like, at that stage we didn't know if there was going to be an FA Cup final, whether it's going to be Villa and Spurs. Like, thankfully I had a backup game, but then they announced that the Villa game was going to be at 2:15 on the Sunday. So I was like, yeah, look, sweet, no matter what happens, even if we lose the FA Cup semi-final, at least that game is going to go ahead. And all of a sudden it started coming out that maybe Spurs are going to apply for a fixture change, and I was like, you know what happened to me last year, Paddy? It was like 4 weeks out, like, and they changed it to a Monday night flight, and I kind of spent a lot of money to rechange the flights. But look, I couldn't really complain last year, as I said there, because there was a 1 in 10 chance that could happen. There was 10 games. I was unlucky that it'd be the Monday night, but I knew there was a slight chance that could have happened, and I just kind of backed it out, because previously we'd spoken about last year, where over the previous years they never put a fixture on that last week of the Premier League. Every team got a week off, So I thought this year, and then they changed it. And I had to cop it last year. I was like, look, I had to change my flights. I knew there was a slight possibility, but for them to announce the game this time, give the time and everything, and to change it 10 days out, it's absolutely crazy, man. I was like, look, I kind of got lucky this time. It kind of ruined a lot of my plans to see friends of mine who are flying over to meet me in London and stuff, who kind of aren't into the football or whatever. But I was one, as you said yourself, I was one of the lucky ones who kind of was able to make it work, because I was in the country. There's a lot of people that couldn't make it work, Paddy. I had a Twitter post there of like me leaving the country, leaving Australia to go over, and I actually got a lot of messages from people like in Norway, Sweden, private messages saying they had to completely change their plans. And I don't know what I don't want to turn this into a moaning session, but they need to kind of look at this going forward, mate. It's absolutely ridiculous.
There's a lot more moaning to come than this one, I can assure you.
No. Like Paddy, myself and you are very good friends. We had plans to meet up for a pint, like not often we get to see each other. I come from the other side of the world. You always make the effort to fly over and see me when they do come back, and just turn the whole thing upside down. And we always say, Paddy, the match is only one part of it. We come back to see the matches, but there's so much more surrounding the match, isn't there? Like it's like catching up with mates, seeing things, and they don't care. They actually they don't care anymore. Like, and it's every time I come back, obviously I would have went to a lot of games growing up in Ireland, and then obviously you go to Australia, you get further away, and I get back as much as I can. But every time I go back, you make it realize like that they just don't care anymore. The fans are so irrelevant now. It's gone beyond the joke, and that's not just on Villa. Like it's on the Premier League more than anything. And it's just, it's sad, man. We're 10 days out from a trip that takes you 24 hours and $2,000 to fly. You can't be guaranteed the game's going to be on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Like. No, well, look, when you put your figures of what it costs you to get there and into perspective, me losing my flight is not the end of the world. But for me, it's such a standout season in all my years supporting Aston Villa to not go and bookend it with that trip and as you say, spend it with the people that you've just. Like Villa mates are incredible because we've been through all the ups and downs together. Yeah. So to spend that time with them, I think is important, and probably, let's face it, for a lot of people more important than the match itself. So when your plans are just ruined like that, and look, this would not have happened if one idiot didn't pick to play the Man United game on the Friday night. That's what killed all this. It wasn't Spurs kicking up. We'd have kicked up as well. Doubt very much whether they moved it for us. So I really don't believe so, because I still don't believe they give a shit about Aston Villa. And we have a big decision to talk about later on, and that's even more fuel to the fire that they don't give a shit about Aston Villa. But to move it like that when people have plans, as you say, messages from all over Europe. I had a couple of American friends that arrived in Saturday morning. They got the under-18s game, but that's a small consolation for missing a Premier League game. Yeah. Moving a match like that at 10 days' notice to a Friday night when the majority of people work on a Friday. I know that people work shifts, and sometimes it works out well for games like that. But I couldn't change my plans. I couldn't finish work early to go and do that, because you just got to mind your holidays for other stuff and real life things like family holidays and stuff like that. So it was bitterly disappointing not to get to meet you while you were over there. But I'm glad you saw a victory. I'm glad you saw you actually saw a trophy being lifted in Villa Park. So so you really can't complain about the trip that you had. What was your feelings on the Spurs game? Did you enjoy it, or was it just that Spurs were watching themselves, or what way did you feel about it?
To be honest with you, like I think Villa, there was no stage I was kind of panicking. I thought, we got the halftime, and you're always going to kind of think, oh, is it going to be one of those days? But I kind of always knew the winner was going to come. I was actually very relaxed. I was just enjoying watching the football, to be honest, because I thought Kamara, particularly, like watching him, is just his spatial intelligence is just I'm a big Kamara fanboy, and every time I watch him, and in a game like that where Villa are kind of in control as well, you actually get to see completely what he's about, because he makes the game easy for the others around him. I thought Matty Cash had a very good game, but a lot of that was the space that Kamara was creating from. He'd drop in and take the winger away for Matty Cash, and then Matty Cash got to go. And it's just watching these players in the flesh, people complain these days that footballers are becoming like robots, and that the game is too structured. But everyone wants to see the goal scorers and the wingers, but when you actually sit back and watch someone like Kamara and see what he's actually bringing to the game, it's just incredible,
He's become a vital cog in the team. And I remember the first day I saw him just going, wow, this guy is bloody special. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for us. and he's come on even more leaps and bounds under Unai Emery, and it's worrying that that contract is there to be signed, especially in light of what's happened in the last week and us narrowly missing out like that. And we'll get to that later on. But you're right, he is an incredible footballer. And look, long may it continue, and hopefully they can get that contract over the line and keep everybody happy.
You know, it was nice though, Paddy, was and then my two mates there with me as well, like go to Villa Park the next day for the under-18s game, and as I said to you before, like I've been to Villa Park hundreds of times, but I never got to sit in the hold. So I was like, right lads, we're getting tickets now for the under-18s, and fair play to the club, pound a ticket. They actually filled the two stands very, very well, and obviously they had the Doug Ellis and the North Stand closed, but the whole tent was buzzing, and they had the Trinity going, and we got to sit in the hole for it, and there was actually a really good buzz. And like probably the part that warmed me the most is when we won when the whistle went and all the young lads get to go in front of the hole. You know, some of them may never ever play for Villa's first team, or you know, they might go on and have lovely careers down the lower league. Some may never make it again. You can see the lads who are probably going to be pushing on both sides, Man City and Villa. There's always 2 or 3 on both sides that you think, they're just that level above what's on the pitch at the moment, you know. But I remember one of the lads going over doing the Onana celebration to the whole thing, you know, and you're just like, isn't that lovely for them like that? If they may never have a career in football, but that'll be their memory, you know, like all that years coming through the academy. If they don't make the first team, at least like they had that moment at Villa Park where they got to lift the trophy, where they had the Villa fans on side, you know, and they must have all felt like first teamers that day, you know, lifting a trophy for Villa. And brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's also the under-18 football. It's a throwback to what football used to be about. You can see that they're obviously trying to do Emery's style with the play out and stuff, but then you get the young lads who are raw and they're not kind of completely coached yet either, and they have their moment, and you see the coach Shan telling him to play the ball inside, next thing man just goes down the wing, and he's like, you can tell he's just thinking, no, this is it, I may never get this chance again. So it was lovely, and it's beautiful as well. Like there's our own podcast there. There's a big supporter of it, Mark Smith as well, who's been a big supporter of myself, Tess and Rhino from the beginning, and he met me in the Whitton Arms for a few pints. I got to meet him and his son, and he got to meet my friends and stuff, and that's what it's all about, like, you know, just meeting people.
Exactly.
And then lovely to sit down and watch Man City lose an FA Cup final afterwards as well, and it was just, from a sporting point of view, it was the perfect weekend, really. I couldn't complain about anything. And you know, like the Aston Inn as well, there's always a good vibe around there before and after the games as well, and you're meeting people all day, and it's just, I love it. I love going over there and visiting, and I think watching us control games like that is just kind of, for me, shows how far we've come as well. Look, it's not always going to be the most easy on the eye unless you're like, I'm into the tactical side of the game. I get it. Like one of my mates was like, I wish they'd just go for it, and I get his point of view of it too, you know, like he was back and his whole life to Villa as well, but I love it. I think the football it's not edge your seat stuff, but how far we've come to watch us, like trying to watch other teams stop us as opposed to us stop other teams, is, you know, it shows how far we've come. And look, I'm sure we'll get onto it, but I'll let you bring that into in a minute. But for the Spurs game, as I said, it was nice to sit back and watch a game where you just kind of, you know, important games like that, you always expect something to go wrong, and it was one of those games where I didn't expect anything to go wrong. I thought we played very well from start to finish, and even Son, someone who's caused us a lot of trouble over the years. I know he was just come back from injury; he had a couple of moments and stuff, but I thought Matty Cash done a serious job on him, and you know, it's kind of like it's good to see, like you're seeing players who have came in with us in 2020, like Matty Cash, Kwanzaa. Mings didn't really play, but John McGinn, and they're developing with the team, and it's just so refreshing because to see some of the players that you would have seen 4 or 5 years ago, and here they are trying to get us into the Champions League. Yeah. So it brings that nostalgia as well.
It's great, and even you know, the players you mentioned, and you know, to have so many of Dean Smith's signings still in there, it's fantastic, and it's great to see how they've developed under the new manager. We've got 14 minutes in, and I think I've just kind of been putting off talking about the inevitable. But let's unbox what happened last Sunday. I honestly don't know where to start. One What have I been telling you for the last few weeks when we've been messaging back and forward about this end of season? You can tell everybody else because no one else will believe me.
So myself and Paddy always balance each other out, like, you know. And when Paddy needs a bit of a positive message, he'll message me. When I need someone to bring me back down to earth from being too positive, I'll message Paddy. And we always have these nice level discussions. We always walk away from the texts going right. So we're never too high, never too low. Paddy said to me, I was like, "We'll make it." I said Chelsea, they're on a bad run. Like, you know, I don't trust Chelsea as a team. I think they've had a lot of lucky results. We're playing well. We'll get over the line. And Paddy said to me, "Spud, it won't come down to the goal difference. It won't come down to how many games. It'll come down to a referee's decision." And Paddy said that to me 7 or 8 weeks ago. And lo and behold, he was absolutely spot on.
And look, before everybody starts coming at me in the comments and in the comments afterwards, let's preface this by saying we didn't miss out on Champions League 100% by what happened last weekend.
It's a 38
along the way. There was a number of different occasions that we can look back at, specifically that Man City won a couple of weeks ago. That point would have gotten us over the line. You know, the 2 Ipswich games, as I keep saying, that's the reason we don't have Champions League football. But we all know hindsight is one thing, and we know that at 1-0 up, 72 minutes on the clock, Newcastle behind, you know, it's the toughest part of it, because people that don't understand football will go, well, United scored 2 goals. Yes, they did score 2 goals. They scored 2 goals because we had to go and try and win the game.
Yeah.
We did. I don't think we realised at that stage that had Newcastle gone behind. I haven't even. I haven't looked at Match of the Day. I haven't looked at any football this week. I've just been so sick over everything that's happened. I'm just absolutely. My mind is blown, and I don't know why I'm surprised, because you know what I'm like about referees, and it just took that split second to let the play out, and it just struck me when you saw Boyan Deere come out to claim that ball. He didn't come out with any conviction. He came out all wrong in his posture. Anyone that's ever played the game, be an attacker or a defender, would realise, oh, he's not approached this the right way. And a good referee, a referee that has been involved in the game for years, would have spotted that and went, let's hold fire here for a minute. Let's see what happens. Then blow my whistle. But he didn't. Why did he not? Because he's only 10 or 11 games under his belt. And PGMOL decided that he was the man to put on one of the 4 most important games of the season. And they have badly fucked up, and potentially could have ruined that young referee's career. And the blame has to fully land at Howard Webb's door. The same Howard Webb that was asked by a journalist at the playoff final on Monday, how far along are we expecting a reply to Aston Villa? And they said, working on it. We're now 6 days later. They're still fucking working on it. No reply.
Oh no, it's fine, Paddy. He'll go on to a chat with Michael Owen there, and they'll excuse it nicely as there'll be no problem. It was an absolute joke. Like, I mean, you come into a game of that magnitude and you put a referee like that. No, and you, as you rightly said, Paddy, it's a 38-game season. It doesn't come down to the decision, but it does come down to the decision, because we were 1-0 up with 10 men, like 17 minutes to go. It's a different game. There's not, like, that's completely different. Like, you know, like, I have my own issues with the way Emery approached the game from the start. That's fine. Emery will look back and think, well, I approached the game the way I approached it. We were 1-0 up. You know what I mean? Like, so had we won that game 1-0, nobody would have even batted an eyelid to the way we approached the game, you know? That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Everton were 1-0 up. Everton were 1-0 up.
The bottom line is, United probably could have been 3 or 4 up at that stage, but this is football. It didn't happen. Yeah. So we go 1-0 up, and the whole aspect of the game changes. we have a complete reset. He probably takes off Matson, brings on Luca Dean, probably brings Tyrone Mings in for Pau Torres, probably brings Barkley in for one of the players further up the pitch, Watkins maybe, and just we can still afford to concede a goal at that stage.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key for me, Paddy.
And you know that I've worked in sports psychology. I can tell you now that the players' heads were gone when they realised what had been done in that moment in time. And that's a very hard one to recover from unless you can get someone sitting on the ground injured for 3 or 4 minutes and get the captain running around, sorting out the heads, calming people down. And we just didn't have that reset. And within a couple of minutes, we're 1-0 down. So the blame has to go completely at the door of PGMOL and what they've instructed the referees to do. I know people have said it all week on radio stations and stuff. I haven't even listened to a podcast all week. I just can't. But I have heard Sky Sports News or a radio station saying they wait up to 40 seconds after a potential offside before putting up their flag. Yes, he didn't have the mindset to wait a couple of seconds, see how it plays out, and then let VAR do their work. And it's just the sign of what I've always said. They don't give a shit about Aston Villa. When you have Michael Oliver sitting in a VAR room while this yellow pack referee is sitting in Old Trafford in potentially the biggest game of the season. And let's not forget, right? A lot of people won't realise this, and I remembered very, very quickly Sunday night in my drunken haze because I took the decision that I needed to get drunk or I wasn't going to sleep that night last Sunday. But I went back and had a look at the highlights of... Do you remember the game we lost to Notts Forest just before Christmas?
Yeah.
The late winner. Yeah. In that game, we had a penalty decision where Morgan Rogers was having his arm pulled as he went into the box.
Yeah.
It was actually pulled twice. No penalty given. There was a foul on Matty Cash in the lead up to that winning goal. A lot of people said it went through the back of him. Who was the referee that day?
Same fella.
Thomas Bramall. So Thomas Bramall has had 10 or 11 Premier League games and done us twice. Done us. Not refereed us, done us twice.
He actually done us 3 times, Paddy, because we had a game against Bournemouth as well where Leon Bailey broke and he got pulled back by the jersey against Bournemouth. Second yellow and never given. No, I'm not saying that this referee has us out for us, but if you're coming into a game of that magnitude, surely this has to be looked at, like, as in, like, why is a referee of that magnitude? Like, we're not sitting here excusing Villa's performance. Like, everyone knows that Villa were poor that night, but goals change games, and that's reality. And at this stage of the season, it's not about performance; it's about results. That's all that matters. That, like, 3 points, a draw, doesn't matter. Newcastle were abysmal against Everton. So the referee's blunder affected 2 games. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, Newcastle won't care about that performance. They got over the line. They got to the Champions League. It's not about performance in your last day of the season. It's about results. And we were bad. And we know we were bad. And I'm not going to excuse the way Villa played. I thought they played really nervous. They couldn't keep the ball. They couldn't. It was like a cup final. And it probably felt like that. There was a lot of weight on the shoulder. You know, they had a feel for that. But there's no excusing the performance, but at the end of the day, Man United did not put the ball in the net. They were missing chances. Hoyland wouldn't finish his breakfast. So I hate this stuff when they were saying, or our fans are saying, you got battered, or even our own fans saying, we were crap, we were this, we were that, we were that. Yeah, of course we were, and we know that, and we're not trying to push that away. But at the end of the day, the score was 0-0, and we scored a goal, a perfectly legitimate goal to put us 1-0 up. It doesn't matter if we had conceded 45 shots before that. The fact was, it was 0-0. There was 15 minutes to go or 17 minutes to go, and a referee's blunder. And it was a referee that was not experienced. Why isn't he refereeing Ipswich and West Ham where there's nothing on the game? If you want to give him a game, like that's the reality of it. And fans can come at me all they want and say this and that, and we're excusing poor performance or whatever. It's a 90-minute game. There's games over a 38-game season where you have to win when you're not playing bad, when you're not playing well, when you're playing crap. We were playing crap, but we should have been 1-0 up away at Old Trafford. And that's the reality of it. Like they can miss all the chances. They weren't United. They weren't 1-0 up. They weren't 1-0 up. They weren't, and that's.
To be fair to Unai Emery and to be fair to United, I don't think they saw how we were going to give them respect from the off, and the respect from the off brought them onto us. And I don't think Unai Emery anticipated they were going to go for it in the manner they did in the first half, and that's fine. But we never countered that, and we were all so looking forward to half time, and then 2 minutes before half time, we lose our goalkeeper in an absolute moment of madness. Now, don't get me wrong. There's other mitigating factors in this. It was an absolute hospital pass that was given to him by Matty Cash. It was, and look, in the last 6 weeks, I have said Matty Cash has been excellent for us for 6 weeks in a row. All those games that we won, he's been absolutely brilliant. There's no excuse for that. And look, Maatsen did the same thing in the second half. I'm not just copying or picking out Matty Cash. Maatsen went for a header on the halfway line, trying to head the ball back to the goalkeeper from the halfway line, and trying to head it back to Robin Olsen, who doesn't play on the edge like any man does. So 2 mad decisions. We got caught out. Would Highland have scored? I wouldn't have put money on him, would you? But absolutely no excuse for the challenge that Emi Martinez put in. And I believe, again, I'm going back to the mentality in sport. We saw his emotional response to the final whistle the week before, and that was an emotional thing to do. And it's an absolute head wreck from my point of view to see that somebody could be that emotionally involved in the game, and to see the need to go and do what he did was just, I just can't get my head around it. At that level of sport, you have to be more level-headed in your decision making. And he went, and there's no excuse from anybody. I have not heard one person say that wasn't a red card. It was 100% a red card. And where the referee got the others wrong, he definitely got that one right.
I was kind of like, look, obviously it's in the heat of the moment, and it's easy for me to sit here sitting on a laptop, and I'm not in the moment. But I was so disappointed with Martinez in that moment, like, because this is where he usually thrives. He didn't even try to play the ball, Paddy. Didn't try to shepherd a man. He took him out of it. Like, he made the decision early. Like, he cleaned him out of it, and it's such a strength for a World Cup winner. And I'm not going to turn this into an anti-Martinez, because obviously he'll always win us more points than he'll lose us. But it was a moment of madness.
Yeah, we're only here to pick the moments that have ultimately cost us. Who knows if we'd have gone into half time with 11 men on the pitch, how we would have changed things in the second half. Still had Asensio on the pitch to pick that lock. 11 against 11. And 11 against 11 and going 1-0 up with that Morgan Rogers goal. There's no way we're even going to get that. There's no way that we're going to throw that away at that stage. So all of the ifs, buts and maybes, a mad decision from Matty Cash, a mad decision from Emi Martinez, and an even madder decision from the referee has ultimately cost us Champions League football.
The disappointing thing for me, Paddy, is because I genuinely think we would have been better off going 1-0 down than 10 men, because I think we've shown that we can come back in games, and United are weak. Like, a goal would have, even going in 1-0 at half time with 11 men on the pitch, Emery would have made a few changes, or tactically, whatever it may be, early goal, you're still going to win that game, and the draw would have done it. I think going down to 10 men just before half time, it just set the tone a little bit. Like, and Matty Cash, I'd say he'll have horrors over that. Like, the ball was nowhere near Martinez either. Like, it wasn't like, I play that moment back in my head, like, and I'm trying to, like, without being trying to be harsh on Martinez, I'm kind of thinking, what's he thinking? Like, but like, surely you're not even thinking shoulder the man. Like, sure, like, how are you coming to that conclusion with like 30 yards behind you of green grass? Yeah. Surely you're thinking like shepherd a man, or I don't know. It was just but it's United, isn't it? This stuff happens against us. It's unexplainable. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good we are, how bad we are. It's just a hoodoo that we just cannot get over. And I don't know. It's disappointing. Paddy, can I ask you something serious now? Like, right? Because like, obviously, like, mainstream media will always let us know it's a complete disaster, right? Because all we're going to hear is who we're selling PSR and all that. Like, you know, we'd be disappointed on the day, but, you know, in reflection, you look back and you think, you know what, Europa League is not the worst thing ever because we shouldn't be worrying about the money. What's your thoughts now about Europa League going into it? Like, you know, now that the dust has settled and obviously we know what happened in that game, what are you thinking going forward? Like, looking on now, as someone like yourself now who's followed Villa for a long time, season ticket holder in the Championship, that doesn't mean that we can never excuse bad performances, but like, are you kind of looking forward to the Europa League now? Or are you kind of like, are you still a bit kind of like, oh.
I don't know if you know the James song, Sit Down. Do you know that song? Oh, sit down.
Yeah.
There's a line in that song. I think it goes, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor.
Yeah.
You know, I think that just sums up how I'm feeling about this. And the reason is you've got one decision, which is obviously there's loads of things that's happened throughout the season. But when it came down to the footballing day, when the gods were not on our side, a referee blew a whistle, which has cost us Champions League football for the second year in a row. I believe that puts us back at least another year in our progression. I know I read something on Twitter, Jacob Tanswell said that, or John Townley or whoever it was, Emmy Martinez said it doesn't affect our progression. For me, it does, because having lived through this year and seeing, like I said, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. It's just the poor relation to the Champions League. And to be that close, that one decision has cost us the Champions League football and put us into the Europa League and messed up a lot of people's 3 o'clock Saturdays. We're not going to see 3 o'clock Saturdays very often this season as well, because we're playing Thursday night, week in, week out. But at the end of the day, it's all ifs, buts and maybes. And if you'd have said to me 10 weeks ago, would you take Europa League football? My answer would have been yes. But it's not 10 weeks ago. We're 10 weeks on after a brilliant run of results, after performing so much better, after seeing us get to the quarter-final of the Champions League. So I am disappointed. I am very disappointed. But disappointment doesn't even match the anger I feel over what happened on the day last Sunday, because that one is going to hurt and it's going to sting well into next season when I'm listening to that Europa League music as opposed to the Champions League music. And having experienced Conference League, yes, it was brilliant. Absolutely amazing for us to be back in even in any type of European football. But to be that close to a guaranteed 100 million there or thereabouts between TV money, prize money, win bonuses, money in the bank from filling Villa Park. I worry will Villa Park be full for Europa League football, and that's no joke. Like I do genuinely worry. Even at that, the 30 quid cheaper for Europa League football. That's money that the club has lost. The money is the huge thing, and it's sad. It's sad that football has come to this, but the last 15, 20 years of Man United, Chelsea, Man City buying trophies has led us to this situation now where we're in an unfair position that get us trying to break into that top six has just been whipped out from underneath us because of what happened with that one decision. And it does hamper us. You know, if you're to believe what the experts are telling us, we're going to have to sell and probably sell someone that we don't want to sell. And again, I go back to it. We fucking scored that goal and it's not chalked off. We're not even having this conversation because we've got the Champions League money coming in from this year. We're guaranteed it for next year. And who knows, we could be a mainstay in that Champions League competition. But there's also the personal side of it, because I found this season as a fan who has to travel a long distance. Now, obviously not as long as you, but I do travel more often, obviously, and I'm a season ticket holder. You get to a certain age where you're going, this is difficult to do on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis. And, you know, it was only when that Spurs trip was cancelled and I went, actually that weekend wasn't bad. I had a nice relaxing weekend. Maybe this is the way forward. And then last weekend I'm going, we've been absolutely fucking robbed here. And why do I want to go back to this? Why do I want to put myself through this again? And it's another year where we've missed out on attracting the younger demographic of Birmingham to support Villa over, let's face it, the most of them are Liverpool or Man United, and then you've got Baggies and Blues. So it's another year we're going to fail to attract them to, what is an absolutely amazing thing of Champions League football, because having seen a few of them this year, there is absolutely nothing like it. And I don't think the Europa League will come anywhere close to making up for the fact that we're not getting there. It could have been worse. If Forest had won, it could have been worse. If Chris Wood had scored that late one, it could have been worse. But, I think that in one sense, we probably need to be thankful. As I said, it'll go back to 10 weeks. I'd have taken it. But when it came down to it, it wasn't us that caused it in the end. Yes, we conceded that late goal against Man City. But so did others around us drop points. So it came down to the last day of the season, and it came down to a referee's error, and it came down to a PGMOL error in appointing that referee to such a big game that he wasn't capable of being in control of. And you mentioned that Bournemouth game. I forgot that was how was a fella that's got 11 Premier League games managed to referee us 3 times?
3 times, yeah. Everyone had a big decision.
Went around that pitch, kicking ankles the whole first half, and got away with no yellow card.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
I think it was Rodgers on his fourth foul picked up a yellow card. That couldn't. Yeah. And Rodgers has had a poor deal from referees throughout the season. They've really come down hard on him this season, and really unfair on him, I thought. There's been a lot of occasions where he's been picked on for his fourth foul. So there you go. He's had another occasion this week, and if you can't look after your young English talent, who knows? Maybe they will do what Jude Bellingham did and head off to warmer climates, because there's nothing to keep you at the likes of Aston Villa if you're going to be given decisions against you like that. It really is a hard one to take.
You talk about the mentality earlier, Paddy, of how a decision like that can go against you and you can lose the head. And I think Morgan Rodgers was the prime example of that moment. He couldn't focus after that. Like, he got a yellow pretty quickly after that, and he was out of the game then. Like, I think he ended up getting hooked last 5 minutes, but like for a young lad as well, I think he just the unjust for him just killed him. Like, his focus was gone off the game. Like, to be honest with you, we probably should have pulled him off a bit earlier after that, because he was done. He's just, all he wanted to do is get after the referee. Like, and you can understand it, like, because like it's just probably been a little frustrating into the season for him, because he probably had to give himself up a little bit. For 3/4 of the season, he was probably our main ball carrier, main man, and he's probably gone out to the right, and he hasn't been as effective. But he's been effective for the team, but just from a defense point of view, which wasn't his kind of main attribute, for him to go and score the goal, get it pulled off, I'd say, like, you could see it. You could just, he was gone through. He must have went after the referee 3 times, and eventually got the yellow card. He was done. He couldn't keep the ball after that. He couldn't do anything. He was gone. Yeah. So I totally agree with you with the mentality of a decision like that. And as we always say, goals change games. And look, we can sit here and people will probably think like that. Oh, we're focused too much on a decision, but we can't really say much more than the goals change games, like, and that's right. Paddy, you've played football. I've played football. How many times have you played a game where you just weren't having a good day, but you won the game? And that's all that matters at the end of the day. Like, you look at like, you look at when Celtic. Sorry, Paddy, 1 second. Remember when Celtic beat Barcelona? 11% possession. Victor Wanyama scored. Do you think Celtic fans are looking back saying, "Oh, we didn't have the ball"? What did Jose Mourinho used to say? Yeah, you have the ball, we'll have the 3 points.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. And the same with that Morgan Rodgers thing. How many times have you had a tackle put in on you, and it's been pretty poor, and it's at least a yellow card, and the next tackle you put in is definitely a yellow card or sometimes a red card. That's when referees are poor. That referee, if he was a little bit more experienced, would have pulled the captains together and went, look, I made a mistake here. I can't rectify that error now at this stage. blah, blah, blah. Diffused the whole situation, but he didn't. He made an arse of himself. He tried to backtrack. There's no doubt VAR was in his ear going, nobody touched that there. You know, he didn't have full control of the ball. Look, we could go on about it and go on about it and go on about it. I think most people will be in agreement when they look at it logically that it is the ultimate nail in the coffin and the one that cost us Champions League football. We fucked up throughout the season, as did every other team. Every team has had games where they felt they should have won, they didn't win. But when it comes down to it, I believe Howard Webb is not fit for purpose, PGMOL is not fit for purpose, and most of the referees are not fit for purpose. And for an organisation like the Premier League to be still persistent with Howard Webb in charge when he's obviously done nothing. Nothing has improved. Absolutely nothing has improved. I can't see anything better than what it was. They built this huge, big training centre. If you get a chance, go into YouTube when this is over and put in PGMOL and scroll down, you'll see their facilities. If you can't do your job properly in facilities like that, you need to go. Howard Webb needs to go. The fact that we're 6 days on from this and we haven't heard from him shows exactly what they think of us and what the Premier League think of us. And I think they know what we think of them at this stage. So I don't understand why he's still there. We'll tie a bow in this for now, I think, Spud, unless you have anything else to add on this point. But it's taken me 6 days to talk about it. I've really had a shit week. You know, not just because of what happened last Sunday, but it just topped off what's been a pretty poor couple of weeks, and it certainly didn't help my mood. I can tell you.
Yeah, well, like you're asking me about anything to add in. I don't want to throw petrol on the fire, Paddy, but I do have one thing I want to raise before we move off the point about the refs as well. Like right, VAR, right? Like seriously, like what the fuck is going on with that? Excuse my French now, but wasn't this brought in to try and sort things out? Who's after deciding this rule that it can't come in if the whistle's blown? Surely isn't the whole idea to help the referees? Is that not the craziest? And this is not me with my Villa hat on. Forget about the Villa decision for a minute. Let's talk about it as a rule as a whole. Is that not the craziest thing you ever heard? So a referee can make a mistake. It might be a natural mistake, like to blow the whistle. We know that, like, you know, it might be a natural reaction for him. Isn't that what VAR is there, to step in if he makes a mistake? Isn't that the whole point? What's the point of VAR if he blows the whistle and can't do its job? But seriously, what are we doing here? Like, where's the sport going? Like, he's like,
no. Well, that said to me, you know, the laws are in place to protect what happened last weekend. And that's why ultimately the goal wasn't given. You go back, if you remember, you remember Tyrone, the guy came up behind Tyrone Mings against Man City, nipped the ball from an offside position, scored the goal given. Dean Smith was sent off. Yeah. They had to change the rules because of that.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a couple of things like that over the years go against us. I remember being at Man City and Silva chasing after the referee after a goal went in to tell him that's my goal, put my name on that, that's my goal. Yeah. And VAR were looking at that. He's having dialogue with Silva. And Silva is standing in an offside position when he touches the ball. And it's proved that he touches the ball. And VAR didn't even notice that he touched the ball. So they're very poor, very poor. And look, it's one of those things where we're probably going to see a rule change that when the ball is in the box or when there's a goal scoring opportunity, the referee will have to let it run until he gives that, because I don't know what he's seen there. As I said, he's not. If he thinks that goalkeeper came for that with any conviction or his posture in the right way, he knows nothing about football. Because that goalkeeper was all at sea, and I would say there were skid marks down the back of his pants when he checked them when he went into the dressing room, because that's all that happened in that manoeuvre, because he couldn't get his two hands on the ball because he was completely off balance, went for it completely bad. So
I think it says it all. Paddy, it says it all, right? When Frank Lampard whatever you say about Frank Lampard or whatever anyone thinks about Frank Lampard, the interview he done a few years ago was absolutely brilliant after a match. And he said, no problem standing here and saying, there's decisions I got as a Chelsea manager that I did not get as an Everton manager.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that wasn't highlighted enough because everybody knows that. And
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho, you could see the change he had. I believe that if Unai Emery come out and criticised referees, I believe we'd get more decisions because he has the voice, but they've decided as a management team that that's not the way we're going to do it. We'll let Monchi and Damien tweet about it or put it on Instagram afterwards, and we won't cause a big scene. But if you go, I've said this to Neil on the podcast before, it's all about mentality. Football is all about mentality. And if you go back through, we'll start with Bob Paisley. Bob Paisley used to criticise the referees week in, week out, and Liverpool won the league nearly every year. Step forward, Alex Ferguson. Referees this, referees that, pointing at his watch. All of a sudden, there's fucking 8 and 10 minutes added on until United score. Step forward, Arsene Wenger did the exact same thing. Arsenal went through a purple patch of winning leagues. Then Jose came in and changed it completely. And they were afraid of their fucking life of Jose. And look at what Chelsea won with mediocre teams playing mediocre football. That's the only outlier in all this is like you saw Klopp do it in recent times. We've seen Pep do it. Claudio Ranieri didn't do it, but football took over in that one for the Leicester one. But we're too nice.
And they made sure that didn't happen again, Paddy. They ripped that Leicester team as fast as they could.
But we're way too nice and we're way too forgiving. As a fan base, as a club, I think we let them away with far too many, and as a result, here we are back. We're back down the pecking order with just the money from. And I would say just the money. It's great to have the money from Europa League football, but it's not going to be the same season next season unless we're challenging for the title, because that's the only thing that's going to rival what has been an epic season. Let's face it, and that's look. We should probably tie a bow in last week's game and just spend a few minutes going back over the rest of the season. What's for you was the highlight of the season, or it doesn't have to be one because there's a couple for me. But what really stood out for you this season? What did you enjoy the most?
Like Paddy, like I always say, like supporting Villa over here. You've heard me say this many times. It's like having a newborn in the house every week for 38 weeks. You have to get up at random times. You have to, a lot of the time, Paddy, I'm getting up at 3 a.m, watch the game and go straight to work. So I always kind of judge my kind of proud moments in my mood walking into work. And I think for me, the most overriding kind of emotion I've had, like, probably would be pride. Like going to work after the Bayern Munich game, going to work after that PSG game. Yeah, okay, we didn't get over the line in the PSG game. We probably should have went through in the end. Maybe a couple of decisions that went against us, not refereeing, but I actually think tactical decisions probably went against us in that game. But I didn't care at that stage because you're playing against a team who were playing in the Champions League tomorrow, the final tonight, and we were 2-0 down, 5-1 down in the second leg, and we could have went through in the end. I mean, so for me, overall, there's a lot of things I look back and there's periods of the season where I think we were poor. We were very poor at times. But the Champions League, I will look back on and fond because we turned up, we performed in Europe's elite, and we deserved to be there. We didn't do any shame, no harm. Probably the only game I would say that I was probably disappointed with, probably two actually, was probably the Monaco and the Club Brugge group game. They're probably the only two games we didn't really turn up and put our best foot forward. Apart from that, like you look at Celtic, Bologna, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, Juventus, we were robbed in the Juventus game, And these are names like that I didn't think the people before me talk about that 1982 team and all that, I was born in 1985. To see us amongst that, just amazing, like it just, and performing. And to be honest with you, like, what would have happened if we did get a fourth goal against PSG? Where would we be now? We could be looking at a Champions League final. So for me, what I'm going to take from the season, Pride from the Champions League, very disappointed with the FA Cup. The semi-final against Crystal Palace, I don't understand how someone as tactically smart as Emery hasn't learned from 3 previous games against Palace. For me, personally, that's something that I'm going to be bitter about for the rest of the season, or going into even the new season. Until we win a trophy, that FA Cup final is going to leave, our semi-final is going to leave a sour taste in my mouth, because I just don't know how we could turn up to a semi-final and look so clueless when we could look up PSG, Bayern Munich, and perform the way we did. We wouldn't be in these positions without Emery, and I understand that. But also, sometimes I do think he just needs to have that little bit more trust in the team in the big games, as in the Palace and the Man City games, where I genuinely believe we could have outplayed Man City at that time. We could have outplayed Palace. But it's the Palace one for me. So as proud as I want about Bayern Munich, on the flip side, if you're looking for one yin and yang, I think Bayern Munich probably was the most proudest I've been, but for Palace was probably the most disappointed I've been, to be honest, because we could have won that trophy. I genuinely believe you're never going to have a chance like that again, like in the near future, where all the big teams are knocked out early and Man City are rocked, and we're not going to have the money to compete for the next few years now. Those big teams are going to push again, but I believe we should have a trophy under our belt this season. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not trying to bring the mood down, but for me, that was the one. That was probably the killer for me.
Yeah, I can safely say that I wish I could say the low light of the season was that Crystal Palace game, but I think the Man United game has overtaken it for me. Just in the manner of the defeat and how it went. The Crystal Palace game, I thought we were unprepared. I thought on the pitch and off the pitch we were unprepared. The Crystal Palace fans were just incredible from start to finish. Their tifo was better, their noise was better, their setup on the pitch was better. But these things happen in games. You lose a game by being second best. Yeah. Losing a game on a referee's decision is much harder to take for me. So I had completely gotten over Newcastle. Completely gotten over Palace by the time the Man United game rocked around, to know that winning that game was possibly going to put us back in the Champions League. Obviously, I would have loved to win the FA Cup. It would have been incredible to go and witness another FA Cup final, because they don't come around too often. So that would have been amazing. I think there was a lot of highlights throughout the season. A lot of things to be proud of. Obviously, the ones you said. As a spectacle, I loved the Celtic game. The PSG game for me probably slightly gazumps Bayern Munich in the fact that when we scored the third goal, my son was talking to me. I couldn't hear him. He was standing like here, right in front of my face, and I couldn't hear him. I have never experienced the noise. I can tell you the 3 times. Number one was that after the third goal against the PSG. Number 2 was when Stan Collymore scored against Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinal in 1998. And number 3 was the Bayern Munich one. But the 2 of them are very close. But that PSG game, I'll never forget. The hairs are standing up the back of my neck here thinking about it. The noise and just the outpouring of people that just saw this amazing. How the hell did this happen? It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But, the good win against Man City just before Christmas, where we were 2-0 up and coasting. Again, we gave away a late goal in that, unfortunately. There was a number of occasions during the season I thought, we were poor, but then we'd show up the next day the next week against a bigger team and just turn it on. So it just begs the question of the mentality and getting the mentality right. And maybe he needs to ship out a few players. And we're going to ship out a few players because we can take that as a given. But I'd agree with everything you put there. I've a couple of more for you. I want one word answer. I'm not giving you options on this one. Player of the season.
Yuri Tillemans, no question.
Correct. We'll agree on that. Goal of the season.
John Duran, Bayern Munich.
Well, I agree with you with John Duran, but I think the Everton goal was better.
Oh, I like that. Especially because we came from 2-0 down as well. But I just think for me, for the moment, Champions League, first game at home, and it was planned as well when Emery said after that Durant said to him in training during the week that he's going, I can beat him. He's too far off his line. So for me, Duran, I think we'll give it to him again.
Give it to me again. Yeah. Look, there's over 500 people watching here, and I'm hope we've given you some kind of relief from your lack of football, or maybe having a lack of football is what you needed this week, and it was definitely what I needed. I might sit down and have a few beers watching the Champions League final later on, if the mood takes me. It's been a tough week to put down. Listening to some of the harsh shite that's been thrown back at us. Oh yeah, but aren't you the club that benefited from Sheffield United? Blah blah blah. Indirectly. But how much of the game was left when that happened? Can you legislate for them having a player sent off in that game? It's just, some of the narrative that's been around this. It's they don't remember earlier in that season. We had a similar occasion to what happened last Saturday when Henry Lansbury scored and he booked Jack for diving, even though he got the pass away. So yeah, and a lot of people mentioning in the comments. Sorry, I'm trying to not get sidetracked by the comments, but Thomas Bramall is from Sheffield. Thomas Bramall, I wonder if he's from Bramall Lane. But three games in a season where he's been poor for us is very, very strange. But and unfortunately,
out of 11 Premier League games.
Out of 11, yeah, there you go. Unfortunately, I think that's probably what's going to be remembered, because we now don't have to play a match for, what have we got, about 8 weeks before we play another Premier League game, or 9 weeks even. So I'm looking forward to the break from football. I won't be watching any of that Mickey Mouse Invitational World Cup that they've managed to put around, where you've got, no disrespect to Inter Miami, but how Inter Miami are there is beyond me. How Chelsea are there are beyond me. It's not beyond me. I know what they're doing. It's all about money. It's all about getting bums on seats. They want Messi there. They want Chelsea there because they've got a fan base created by Jose Mourinho bullying referees for all the time he was there. So that's why these people are involved. So it's a Mickey Mouse competition. I hope nobody supports it, and I hope it dies on its feet, and I hope it earns them no money whatsoever.
Paddy, before we go there, because I know you're someone who takes a lot of notice of this as well, and I watch a lot of it myself as well, and yourself and Stephen have touched off it a lot, but obviously the Aston Villa women as well. I just wanted to ask you something there about Rachel Daly signed a 2-year contract there. Can you tell us about the magnitude of that for us, for the people that maybe don't watch the women's football, how big a pull that is for the club?
Yeah, but I think to have somebody like Rachel Daly and of course Sarah Nailing signed the new contract yesterday as well. You need to have a nucleus there to build a team around, whether it's men's football, ladies football, under 18. You have to have that experience. You have to have players who have done it at the top level in order to push on. So there's an interesting season ahead for that bunch. They've let a lot of players go, so it'll be interesting to see how they regroup, because there's not a huge difference. As we've seen, we spent a few weeks worrying about relegation, and then all of a sudden you're finishing mid-table. So it's like that in that league. So if you could just push on and get a few more extra wins, you could be looking at European football. But I think there's a difficult job there to be done. But having the likes of Sarah Mailing and Rachel Daly commit, I think it's fantastic. And I hope they can go and get a few bodies in the door. And because I'm sure they want bigger attendances when they're playing at Villa Park, if they choose to play at Villa Park this year again, which I'm sure they will, because it's been somewhat of a success, and obviously the money is coming through the door, which is important. People are spending money at Villa Park. They're buying shirts, they're buying pies, they're buying points. So it makes sense to have them in there, and it makes sense to throw money at it, because you can offset that money against PSR as well. So invest in the game, give people a reason to go to Villa Park when the men aren't at home. I know it's not for everybody. I know there's people that have probably dropped off the podcast and don't want to hear this. That's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine with that. That's everybody's opinion, or everybody's option. But I enjoy watching anybody that wears that claret and blue shirt. You know, if it was over 50s walking football and they're wearing claret and blue, I'd watch it, because you just want Villa players, Villa fans, everyone
to be successful. Yeah, in all aspects.
Yeah,
and that brings me to very
people you meet at Villa Park. You just want what's best for them. You want them to be happy. You want them to experience the highs and not to have to put up with the shit that happened last weekend. Because as a fan base, we are absolutely incredible. There's nothing like it. I just love the Villa family. The people that I have met through this podcast, from being involved in Lions clubs for more years than I care to admit at this stage. And it's the one thing that I always, like, as you said, having my season ticket through the championship, the friends that I made during that run in the championship are friends forever. Absolutely incredible to be still meeting them on a fortnightly basis or monthly basis. When I get over there, I'll cherish the memories from that championship season, especially the one where we went back up, and the people that I met along the way. And I'm delighted to have those friends. And it's great to be able to walk into a pub around Villa Park and meet someone that you've met over the years. We're all incredibly lucky, and I hope it always stays that way.
No, you're 100% right, and that's what we said in the Texas the other day, isn't it? Like, the game is important, but it's also just a small part of the trip as well. There's so much more around the game, like the build up to the game, meeting people, the game after, like meeting people again, and just talking to people. And like I always say, like, you know, people at work like think I'm absolutely crazy, like that I'm paying for flights from Australia to Villa to watch a game. They're like, the Aussies are like, so you're going over to watch a match? And I was like, but I'm not just going over to watch a match, like I'm going over to meet friends, and I'm going over to, you know what I mean? The match is our meeting point, but there's so much more around that, like, you know what I mean? That it's just kind of, that, like, the match is important, but it's the 3 days around that is much more important, like, to me, you know, like meeting people and just, and you go over then and you go to the Aston Inn or you go to the Wittens, and you're just surrounded by like-minded people who get it, like, people understand, like. Now, Paddy, I'm going to catch off guard here. I have one question for you before we go, and I want you to take your Man United bias out of this now for a second. Big rumours that Emery is mad for Alejandro Garnacho. What's your thoughts on that?
If Emery chooses to sign anybody, I'll back him up. I'd probably draw the line at Bruno Fernandes, because I don't like him as a person and what he does off the ball.
What he represents.
And there's probably nobody else at Man United that I would pick that would be anywhere near our level. I go back to an encounter I had with Dennis Irwin 40 years ago, when we were chatting about the psychology of football, and, you know, really sat and had a point with him for about 40 minutes. And the one thing I took out of it was, he said to me, nothing prepares you for how heavy a Man United jersey feels on your body. And I think that's telling, you know, and that has been probably even heavier in the last 10 years. So it's tough for people to go and to play in a club with that much scrutiny on it, especially when they've been absolutely shite for 10 years. So yeah. And then you look at how well Anthony has done away from Man United. How Sancho
McTominay getting the Italian player of the year.
McTominay, and obviously Rashford coming to us and being a completely different player. So I would not be against it. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. But if it does, I'm absolutely fine with it. The reason I say probably not is financially, I don't think we're in a position right now to go and make that signing. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I wouldn't be too upset either. Yeah. But I just don't think we can pay what they're going to look for him now. But I wouldn't be against it if he chooses to do it.
Yeah, and the last thing is, like, that I wanted to say to you is, like, a lot of people reckon that Jacob Ramsey is going to end up being the fall guy of all this PSR. What's your thoughts on that, being a local lad? And like, you can see why he might be like mentioned, and might be, because I remember Monchi saying last year when he done that Talk Sport interview, he said we knew PSR was going to be an issue, and Unai gave us the list of the untouchables, and he mentioned Jacob Ramsey because he said Jacob Ramsey could have solved all the problems straight away if we told them we had offers on the table. Manchi and Vidigani said in that sport interview, but Emery said he was untouchable. Do you feel that Emery would find him untouchable this season after the injuries and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's a completely different conversation. When he got back up to speed, I thought he was very good. Finished article? Absolutely not. There's a bit more work to be done there. But going back to your original question, do I think he's going to be the fall guy? I think probably not. If Martinez has set his sights on leaving, I think that'll probably solve our problems. But our problems wouldn't be as big as they were if we were looking at a second year of Champions League football. And our it's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. But I think Martinez has decided he's going. Nothing will convince me otherwise by his body language. So if that happens, then that solves what people are saying. We need to bring in
wages, money.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of different variations of what that figure is, but what we're going to demand for Emi Martinez will surely cover the shortfall, if there is a shortfall, because I don't think anybody has the definitive answer.
Yeah, if you're going to lose a player of that magnitude, surely that you'd like to think that's going to wipe, and you'd be very concerned if you're selling Emi Martinez and you still have issues after that.
Well, there's something wrong, isn't there? You know, and I do believe there's something not right about the narrative around this PSR, because in a year where we've sold John Duran for such a huge profit and taken in that Champions League income that we've never had, that we're still talking about PSR, it's obviously way above my pay grades. I'm not an accountant and I was never any good with money, so I just can't get my head around it. But it just doesn't make sense to me that this is happening at this stage. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one to decipher what's going on. But is Ramsey disposable? I think in Europe, if we didn't qualify for Europe, I think that could be very easily let him go, because we because of the whole situation of needing so many homegrown players, and that's probably why he was untouchable last year when they had that conversation. So he could be the one that goes if Martinez doesn't, but I'd be very surprised if Martinez doesn't go at this stage.
Yeah, you reckon that's pretty nailed on? Yeah,
I think so. Very surprised not to see Martinez apologising for getting sent off at the weekend. He was well able to come out during the week and take the plaudits for being nominated for the save of the season. I haven't looked, but he probably celebrated that on his Instagram today. And then he's linked with Barcelona and goes to Barcelona on holidays. So it's just a strange thing to do for me. I know he has international football, but go back somewhere near Argentina and go somewhere quiet and have your holiday, and stop that rumor circulating. Would have been easy to do. So he's done it now. It is what it is. We saw the tears in his eyes. We saw how emotional he was flying into that tackle last weekend. So all the signs for me are pointing to him being out the door. I would be surprised at this stage if he isn't. Yeah.
And I'll be sad to see him go, because he probably is the one genuine world-class talent we have in the team. Maybe himself, Kamara and Tielemans would probably be the three that you wouldn't want to lose. But for me, losing Martinez, I think the keeper can be replaced, but the personality can't. We don't have that many players who can play the dirty side of the game, can play the dark arts, pure and utter, pure. We lack pure and utter winners. And whatever people say about Martinez, he is that. And I think that's for me. I think Barcelona probably have come in from. I think it's probably the move that makes most sense, of why he would push for a move, or the one move he probably would make. It'll be sad. He's going to be very, very hard to replace, I think. And I think I was only looking back yesterday. It was the year anniversary yesterday of the penalty shootout against Lille, and it's just like you watch what he does in the work. Like very hard to replace that kind of just mentality of I don't care that there's 50,000 people screaming at me. Like I'm here to win this penalty shootout. Like it's very for an up and coming team. So I don't think it's just the keeper we're losing. I think it's the overall person if we do lose them. The worry for me though is Martinez is the pull for other transfers as well. If you have a World Cup winner or like an Argentina World Cup winner like that, and you're trying to convince people to sign, but if you're seeing those players leave and no Champions League again, it's just not a kind of where you want to be kind of heading, is it?
No, it's a strange one because there's a number of things that come into my head about Martinez, and I think the referees have it in for him as well. If you recall, you're talking about that Lille game. I think if it's not him, he doesn't get that second yellow card in the penalty shootout. I remember a couple of weeks ago when McGinn wasn't on the pitch, he ran halfway up the pitch to confront the referee, which as captain, he's perfectly entitled. He's
allowed to, yeah. I caught that as well, yeah.
He had the prick of a referee, gave him a straight, just turned around, didn't even answer, say nothing, yellow card, fuck off on my face. And unfortunately, I think that reputation has gone before him. So whether he sees that, whether he sees he's not getting the respect of the Premier League referees, I was at it. There was one game I was at throughout the season. Can't get it now. I can't. Whoever it was we were playing against, the goalkeeper was moving the ball from one side to the other with every kick out and slowing everything down, and the referee did nothing. Then we went 1-0 up, and Martinez did it, and it was. Come on, get on with it. So
that was the Fulham game, Paddy. I think was it. I think it was the Fulham game. Yeah, and
I think it was.
I think he got a yellow. It was very, very harsh. He got a yellow for time wasting, but he'd literally just kind of got the ball and just shifted it. It was only probably about 3 or 4 seconds, and the yellow came straight away. Yeah, and I actually remember that game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Fulham game. I think we won the game 1-0 in the end, but he got done for time wasting. It was only like the 55th minute or something like that, Yeah, I do remember that game.
Kevin says, Emery said, no way Martinez is going. Something doesn't add up. I looked at this at the time and I got excited when he said it.
But I text you about it, so I just heard it and you goes, yeah, I seen it. Remember?
Yeah. But as time has gone on since, was it the language thing of Emery saying, no way, I'm not discussing this now? Or was he saying there's no way he's leaving? So there's two sides to that coin. And since then, I've kind of leaning on the side of the coin that says there's no way I'm discussing it now. So there's two ways of looking at it. That's how I'm looking at it now. Maybe because I'm defeatist after last weekend. Maybe because I'm pissed off over last weekend. Maybe because I'm pissed off with him over last weekend. And just because I'm pissed off with him doesn't mean I don't love him, because he's been absolutely brilliant for us. He's been a joy to watch. Some of the stuff that he's done has been incredible. Not without his mistake. The game we were at last year when he effectively threw one into the net against Liverpool in the first couple of minutes when that match was moved to the Monday night. And then, Scotty mentions in the comments, he did actually win that award today, the save of the season. But it's also worth remembering that in that same game, he threw one into the net. So he does have that in his locker to make that mistake. And you'll always have someone like me reminding them of those mistakes, along with the ones where he's done something amazing. But But anyway, Mark, it's late at night where you are. We've lasted an hour and 15 minutes in something I thought it was going to take us 20 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat. It was just last minute thing. I was going to come on and do this myself. And thanks so much for coming on a short notice and bookending the season and trying to put a nail in the coffin and try and move on. And I need to take a break from football and social media and go off my holidays and enjoy the summer with the family. And I hope you do too. And I hope everybody in the comments has a wonderful... Oh, it's bank holiday here. It's not a bank holiday in the UK. A wonderful bank holiday weekend. It's not a bank holiday in Australia, is it, Mark?
It is. It's a bank holiday this weekend as well, so off now till Tuesday.
Oh, very good. Great.
Then I go on my summer holidays in 2 weeks.
I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope they really enjoy the Champions League final tonight. It has the potential to be a great game. Thanks so much to everybody who's tuned in. Over 600 or 700 of you in there. If you don't mind, before you go out, just give us a thumbs up. Stick something in the comments. Be it nice, be it bad, whatever it is. Just say something. Help us with the algorithm and get us up there. Thanks for everybody for engaging throughout the season. I don't know what Neil has planned, whether he wants to do something again, some kind of awards like we did last season, or maybe this week has just killed us. But I'll do whatever he asked me to do at this stage now that I've finally got to speak about what's happened last weekend. But thanks for all the chats. Thanks for all the lovely messages throughout the season, especially in the last week when people were checking in on me because I was missing in action off podcasts and stuff. So this podcast was just to get on to you guys so you could listen to me having one last ref rant of the season. And I'm sure it won't be the last ref rant. And who knows, maybe when Howard Webb comes out and eventually addresses the situation, we might come on again and talk about it. But thanks once again. Really appreciate it. Let's not forget that it has been an amazing season. Thanks to everybody that engaged and bumped into us on many occasions throughout Villa Park, throughout the season at Villa Park. And we look forward to yet another season of breaking our own hearts by following this magnificent team that have given us all something to love, and a season to cherish. It can be easily overlooked, but let's try and enjoy what was an epic season of our first season of Champions League football and our first European Cup football in over 40 years. And I hope it's not another 40 years, because I'm not going to last another 40 years. So I'm hoping we're back at the top table by the end of next season. And who knows, maybe we can push into what is the greedy Sky 6, whatever it is, and leave Man United and Spurs down the bottom, or push Chelsea back out again. I think it was bad for football that Chelsea got back in. I think it's bad for football that Spurs are in there. But it is what it is. They did their job. They got over the line. We didn't. We were robbed. We're pissed off. We're hurting. It's okay. There's a bit of mourning going on since last Sunday, but all is good. We're ready to fight another day, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.